Jim Schultz here for Calculated Risk, and don't forget, before we get going today, the best ways that you can help us are liking the video, subscribing to the channel, or sharing this video with a friend. All of those really help us out a ton. So once you get in the arena that is the markets and you start putting some reps in, man, something really special happens. You begin to start to understand and recognize opportunities. You begin to start to spot trouble areas down the road that might be coming with different positions or different things that you have going on. Or, as we like to call it here on the network, you begin to develop market awareness. Because at a certain point, you can understand all the technical stuff. Like, you can understand the strategies, you can understand the Greeks, you can understand your watch list and your stocks and all these kinds of things, have your whole system in place. But there's a certain type of experience that only comes with exposure to the markets. You can't get it from a book, you can't get it from a podcast, you can't get it from a YouTube video. Oh, the irony, right? You have to be in it. You have to be exposed to trial by fire. So today I want to work through 3 specific examples that my hope is will help you speed up your learning curve in developing your own market awareness. So let's go. So here's one that I see happen all the time, especially with newer traders who want to sell premium, not collecting enough credit. So let's take a short put spread, for example. You like the trade, you like the setup, you're checking out the Greeks, you're looking at the positive time decay, you're looking at all these things, you're feeling really good about the strategy, and you put it on a super high probability, and everything looks great and feels great. But when you look more closely at the actual trade, what you realize is you can only potentially make $1, and your risk in the trade is $4. So maybe you have a $5 wide spread on that you sold for $1, you are risking 4 to make 1. Like, this is a super high probability trade, and so it's going to work out a lot of the time, and you're going to be able to get whatever profit target you want on the trade. But when it doesn't work out, which is also coming, man, it's going to really sting. And of course, we have no problem risking more to make less. I mean, that is quite literally the price of admission when it comes to wanting high probability. But generally speaking, we'd like to be a little bit more balanced, right? We want to maybe risk 2 to make 1, or risk $2.50 to make 1. Risking 4 to make 1 is a little bit too skewed in the direction of the overall risk on the trade relative to what we would typically do. Similarly, let's say you're looking at a naked strategy. So now you're looking at a short put, and you're looking at this super deep out of the money guy, probability of profits like 98, maybe 99%, selling for 50 cents. You're like, man, that is free money. There is no way that that market is going to hit that level. That looks like just walking over into the corner and picking up a pile of cash. Is it really that easy? No, it most certainly is not. In fact, ask anyone who has sold those puts basically any time in the last 2, 3, maybe 7, maybe 10 days. Man, those trades can get really hairy really quickly. So whenever we do an undefined risk strategy like a short put, we want to make sure we're collecting enough to justify the undefined nature of that risk. And so generally speaking, we're at least $1 bare bones minimum, but typically $1.25 or $1.50. There has to be some economic significance in the potential profits on the trade to make it make sense in the first place. Man, those super deep out of the money, those super high pop puts that look so juicy and they look so enticing, be very careful with those. In my opinion, the gotchas far outweigh the gimmies. Okay, next up, trading stocks that have earnings coming up in like 2 or 3 weeks. So it's not soon, it's not like today or tomorrow, and it's not super far off into the distance. It's kind of right in that no man's land scenario. So you're looking at this trade, you're looking at a potential strategy for a stock that has earnings coming up in like 14 to 21 days. This can be a really difficult trade to make because as time goes on, as you get closer and closer to the actual earnings event, implied volatility in the options is going to get bid up. So implied volatility, almost reliably so every single time, is going to be on the rise as you get closer and closer to earnings, because investors and traders are betting on potential outcomes by buying calls and buying puts in that underlying stock, because everybody is waiting for the binary nature of the earnings release for a potential explosive move in the stock, and they want to be on the right side of that move. And so with all that implied volatility expansion, look at and think about what that's doing to you as a premium seller, right? You're selling volatility, you're selling premium. You want to benefit from the passage of time, but with implied volatility expansion going into the earnings day, you're not going to be able to do that nearly as effectively as you would be if the earnings date was not there. And so these opportunities can look amazing because you're like, man, the IV is high, the IVR is high. I love selling elevated volatility. Like it's checking all the boxes. But the problem is you're making an already difficult endeavor, right? Being an active trader, and you're making it even harder on yourself in my view, because any positive theta that you might collect is going to get significantly watered down, if not completely canceled out by the implied volatility expansion going into that earnings date. So a much better option, if you want to trade that stock, that's fine. Just wait until the earnings day. Just wait until the company is about to release earnings. Now you don't have to fight against an implied volatility expansion. In fact, you can even take advantage of it by selling volatility at its peak right before the earnings release. And for now, maybe just focus on indexes. Just focus on, the few stocks that maybe don't have earnings coming up, and focus most of your energies on the indexes where this is not really going to be nearly as big of a problem as it would be with the individual stocks. The third piece of market awareness that can be incredibly helpful to understanding the market dynamics and just getting a feel for what's going on is just looking at market volatility and translating that number into potential daily moves. When the VIX is elevated, it is quite literally telling you and the rest of the market that, man, big moves, wide fluctuations, like that's commonplace. Like that's going to be normal now until the VIX calms down and it moves lower. And a great barometer that you can use to actually put some concrete numbers behind this is just take the VIX and divide it by 16, and that gives you the projected daily move in percentage terms in the S&P 500. So for example, if the VIX were 16, just take 16 divided by 16, and that of course gives you 1. That means that the daily moves in the S&P 500 are projected to be about 1%. Now these are approximations and there are no guarantees, but they give you some idea around what the market is anticipating in terms of the width or the wildness of the overall moves in the S&P 500. If the VIX were 32, now all of a sudden it's 32 divided by 16, 2% daily moves. So a much different market than what you would have with the VIX much lower at 15 or 16. I mean, doing this can really help you process what's going on in the market and put it through the appropriate lens. For instance, right now, at the end of March, early April of 2026, the VIX has been around 30. And so with the S&P 500 around 64, 6,500, the market is telling everyone that, hey, 100-point daily moves, like that's normal right now. That's commonplace. That should not really surprise anybody. But if the VIX were 14 and the S&P ripped off a 100-point move, that would be a big surprise, and that would be a true outlier event for that volatility regime. So when it comes to option mechanics, the strategies, the Greeks, the probabilities, like that's all the stuff that you can learn and memorize. That's all the stuff that's teachable. Like you can put that on a post-it note at your trading terminal and it's there all the time. But market awareness can only come from experience, right? It's the difference between looking at a low credit trade, a low premium trade, but taking it because the probabilities look super enticing and super high, and then passing on it because you then realize, man, that credit doesn't really justify the risk, even though it is a defined risk strategy. It's also the difference between taking a position in a stock with elevated implied volatility that looks really good right now, but then realizing, man, this thing has earnings in 2-3 weeks, and the implied volatility expansion is really going to eat into my theta decay, so actually, I'm going to pass. And it's also the difference between understanding what kind of market you are in. Am I in a quiet market right now? Am I in a wild market right now? Like what kind of daily moves should I expect in the market? And then what kind of daily moves should I be expecting in my portfolio? Depending on how I'm positioned, bullish, bearish, how much deltas I'm carrying relative to the overall market. Like this all comes with market awareness. And if you keep putting your reps in, it will all start to happen automatically. And we'll see you guys next time.